Oh boy. Welcome back to the Angel Cake Entertainment channel on YouTube, and this is such a frustrating video to make because we had something good with the Challenge All-Stars, especially Season 1, to where when Season 2 was released, excitement filled the air, and then you had All-Stars 3 announced right after the finals. And now interviews are coming out, new things are popping up, and it just feels tainted. This whole season feels tainted for everything that has transpired from pretty much episode 7 to when Kahutta had to leave the game to the very end, the very bitter end. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, there were interviews on the Entertainment Weekly website where Jonna and MJ talked about the phase 2 of the finals and everything that transpired. Janelle talked to Derek and Scott on the Challenge Mania podcast, giving the behind the scenes of everything that happened in the finals. And basically that whole 2-hour interview is talking about just the finals and everything that was going on. And after listening to it, thinking back on it, rewatching some of the portions of the finals while Janelle is talking about, it's like, what the hell? To absolutely destroy the integrity of the show when we thought it was going to be a safe haven. When All-Stars won, I felt like production took a very big step back. They let the players kind of do their thing. Yes, there was some like editing out of like the mini final, but for the most part, I felt like, wow, this was actually a season that I didn't feel production's fingerprints all over or too much manipulation over a lot of the edit. But this really takes a hit from everything that's like being put out there and the truth that's surfacing. And let's just jump into it. First of all, this is going to be mainly about the finals because they just happened and it determined who won in a big way. And there was just some very clear manipulation here, whether it was intentional or unintentional, whether it was negligence or scripted in the minds of the production crew. But that's what it's mainly going to be about. I do want to touch on, first of all, we all know about Kahutta. In episode 6, Kendall had to leave the game due to medical reasons. They just got into pairs. Laterian was able to fight with Tyler to see if he would get to stay in the game, and he did. He got to be partnered up with Jasmine, yet the very next episode, Casey has to leave because she found out she was pregnant, and then Kahutta is just told to hit the road. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense with the precedent you set in episode 6 to episode 7. Then we move on to the Brad and Jody situation where Brad smashed the boxes on top of the truck. Myself included was like, wow, Brad, are you dumb? He clearly said to untie the knots, yet you're over here ripping the boxes off. Come to find out, in an Entertainment Weekly interview, both Brad and Jody said that TJ said absolutely nothing about untying knots. Now, granted, if you see a rope that is knotted up and it's hindering you from getting something that you need and it's tied up, you'd probably think, okay, I'm going to untie these knots. But you got to be specific because there's challengers always looking for loopholes in these competitions. So if you don't say specifically, don't rip the boxes, then they're going to rip the boxes. And then it's kind of like a slap in the face to be like, oh, well, you did something wrong when we never told you. Just wanted to address those two because I felt like those were pretty blatant, and I just had to feel like I needed to say something about them. So let's jump into the finals now, as this was a major part of the Challenge Mania interview with Janelle. And before we get into the Entertainment Weekly interview with Jonna and MJ, again, we have another finals where things and phases and legs are being chopped off. When putting this together, I understand it's a TV show. I understand that it's a story that they're trying to go for and an arc, but you make us feel stupid watching the show. Something happens and it doesn't make sense, yet we're just like, okay, cool. We're just going to keep on going through it. Like, there was a puzzle that was completely edited out of them running the main path to the nucleus?
There's definitely some parts that you didn't get to see. We actually ran to this other puzzle board first that no one saw on the show, and it basically was kind of like this labyrinth where you had to remove this skull from. Once you removed your skull, then you started running towards the arena.
It finally makes sense. It makes sense that there would be a puzzle because the first team to the nucleus is Tech and Ayana. So they had to have done something to pass Darrell and Janelle, who are both very athletic and could probably outrun them. Why MJ and Jonna were the last to arrive at the nucleus, and why everybody was so separated to where multiple teams went off the main path because they couldn't find the black arrows and they went to different colored arrow paths. And then production having to tell at least Janelle and Darrell that they have to turn around because they're going the complete wrong way. So in phase 1, there's 3 puzzles that everybody has to do. But come to find out, production is all types of confused and messes up multiple stages of this final. And it starts with apparently MJ and Jonna's memory board puzzle, the last puzzle that they were on.
I will say this without giving too much information because just out of respect for, the people that make this show happen, there was a situation with their puzzle board, but it's interesting because that situation actually benefited them. The situation that happened that benefited them. That's all I can really say.
Frustrating to hear that. So now let's move into phase 2, which I still feel like they just kind of threw this together at the last minute, whether this was because production was going too long during the season because of the second quarantine, or the day was going too long. And so we're getting to the eating portion. Janelle thinking that, okay, there's 2 teams that for sure finished phase 1. They should be some big incentive, big advantage for us heading into the next phase, which as challenge fans, we know that there won't be this big advantage because the challenge production team wants this to be a close race. So it doesn't matter if you finished so far ahead, they want this to be a close race at the end. If you think back to War of the Worlds 2, I mean, the UK team was so far ahead in the whole first day, but when it came down to phase 2, they only had like a 2-minute head start when they had to run down the beach and then put the puzzle together and then get to the yacht. We move into this incentive and advantage where the first place team of Nehemiah and Melinda got a 1-minute head start to eat. Darrell and Janelle got a 30-second, and then MJ and Jonna came in at the end. We get to the puzzle boards where Janelle is the most frustrated at these boards, and this is the one part of the final that she just hates.
We get there. We're running through our first puzzle board, super basic ass puzzle board. It's like taco, taco, taco equals 36. And I'm like, okay, the taco's 12. And so we're going down, we're solving. We get to our second puzzle board, and I kid you not, I was like, this doesn't even make sense to me.
I put the pictures out there. She talked about in the Challenge Mania podcast that if you are invested in this show, take screenshots and try to do these puzzles. I tried. MJ and Jonna's puzzle was significantly easier. In defense of the challenge, the first board for Janelle and Darrell is somewhat easy, knowing that the taco is 12, V equals 0 because of the third line, corn is 6 because of the second line, and then the sombrero is 64, which you find out from the last line. But when I got to the second board, I don't know where to start. I don't understand it. It was significantly harder than all 3 of Jonna and MJ's boards where the piñata and the temple are equal, which equals 17 on the first board, soup is 2, flour is 88. On the second board, their second line is the same, where piñata and temple are the same thing. The thing about this second board is you didn't even have to do the math on the top part because it has what the 3 symbols together equals, and the last line is the 3 symbols just minus 3. So all you have to do is take the first line minus 3 and you get 55 for the cactus, and then their third board is the easiest. And then when we take a look at Nehemiah and Melinda's, they essentially have the same board twice. To me, if you're gonna end where a math problem is the main holdup in your production and who's going to win, you should have the same math problem, because having different math problems, I get it. You want to be like, oh, well, maybe there's incentive of getting there first or there, which wasn't stated. To me, you should have dividers. You should make it the same math problem, maybe different symbols. Because MJ and Johnny's math problem was so much easier than everybody, they actually leave the math problem first to head to the safe, which wasn't shown in the edit. Again, they want to make a storyline. They want Darrell and Janelle to seem like they're in first the whole time, and then Jonna and MJ come up from behind to win. But that's not what happens. MJ and Jonna actually leave the board first, and I even took the scene of them leaving the board undoctored. This is undoctored on when they show Darrell and Janelle leaving to the clip of how they show them in quote-unquote first place. They just reuse the clip of them running to the math boards. They were really just trying to manipulate us in this edit. And to me, not catching that in the first place makes me so frustrated with myself and feel like I've failed at watching this show and then doing this, because I talked about it on Friday on the Nullified Take channel and the Reality Realness channel. I talked about it in my review and recap on the Thursday afterwards. I talked about it on Saturday on the season review live that I did. And for all of this information to start coming out is so frustrating. But the biggest thing I am so frustrated with from this episode is hearing what happens after MJ and Jonna get to their safe. So there's about 50 yards separating MJ and Jonna, who's in first, and Darrell and Janelle, who is in second. So hearing that MJ and Jonna get to the safe, they try the lock a couple of times, nothing is working. They turn to production and say, is the safe broken? Are we doing this right? They ask MJ and Jonna, what's your combination? And MJ and Jonna say their three numbers. And somebody from production were like, you know what, we don't have enough sunlight. They say, yeah, that is your right combination. The safe must be broken. Just start running to the airplane. Then this is when production team goes, well, we can't do that. We can't have a team winning after not being able to open up their safe. That makes no sense. They have a truck. They pick up MJ and Jonna. They start bringing them back. And then once they are at their safe and everybody is at their safe, everyone is trying their lock. It's not working. And this is where Jonna points at the board. MJ points at the board. This is where we get the confessional of Jonna saying, we didn't read. Of course we didn't read. I mean, we should have read the board better. They find the fourth step that MJ talks about in the Entertainment Weekly interview. The fact of the matter is there were instructions on how to open the safe, and there was one extra step that we had to do that normally you don't do on a safe. This is the part of the Challenge Mania podcast where my heart breaks for Janelle because she breaks down in the middle of this interview.
I'm just genuinely curious to know what the fourth one was.
That was me.
Or
It bothers me so much.
what's that? Oh,
You all right?
Yeah, this just bothers me so much. Like this, like flagrant. Obviously, it's clear what's going on.
This is somebody that dedicated her time. She was in pain throughout the show. She gave everything she got. She tried her best. She's been mulling this over and over and over since coming back home from doing All Stars Season 2, blaming herself because she was the one that did a lot of the algebra to help her and Darrell. She felt like she failed him. She failed herself. She feels like she didn't do enough when she gave everything. Come to find out, there is a fourth step that wasn't on the board that I believe was told to MJ and Jonna on the truck coming back to the safe. This may be the second season of All Stars, but you've been doing the show for over 37 seasons. How? I don't feel good watching this. I don't feel good re-looking back on this season when we have all these question marks and hearing all these interviews. And it's not even like these people are jaded. This is coming from the winners, MJ and Jonna. So they're saying the truth. Janelle is giving us all the information, and it's just This is such a huge punch in the gut from what I was having such a good time watching this season. I was feeling like this season was so much better than a lot of the challenge seasons that we've gotten in recent seasons. And then now to hear everything that's coming out, why can't we have transparency? Why can't we have just giving us the information and letting us watch the show unfold? Why do we have to feel like Darrell and Janelle are in first place heading to the safe? What's the point of that? Why take away the first puzzle to where we see Tech and Ayana make it to the nucleus first? Because that makes no sense. Also, there was another portion on the green pole puzzle where there was an extra piece so far away. After you collected all 14 pieces, I heard Janelle said there was one last puzzle piece so much farther away than anything else that was there.
So we get all of our puzzle pieces in for the bike, and then we're told there's one more puzzle piece. And I wish they would have shown this on the final and kind of showed like a map so people could see where the majority of the puzzle pieces were and then where this last puzzle piece was. It was far.
So they cut that completely out where she said they had to go like 10 miles there and back. Like to have to get 14 puzzle pieces, but then get to 15th puzzle piece and head so far out of the way. What's the point of that? And then you're losing daylight and you're going like, well, we didn't plan for this. What did you do? What did you think? You had people running around doing all these different things. You think this is going to be done in like a half an hour? I love Jonna. I'm happy that she's finally a champ, as I feel like she should have gotten some money in All-Star Season 1, but not like this. Not like this. I didn't want this to be the case. I didn't want all of this information to taint such a great season and a great spin-off show of All-Stars. I didn't want whoever won this season to have what feels like a giant asterisk. I am so frustrated, and I want to hear what you have to say about everything that was said in this video, the interviews that you may have read, the interview from Janelle on the Challenge Mania podcast. Let me know anything and everything you feel about these finals after hearing everything else that's happened behind the scenes and everything. Does this taint the season for you? Are you frustrated with everything that has been divulged to us in these interviews? And what do you have to say about the challenge production team putting this all together and just absolutely dropping the ball? Or do you think that they didn't drop the ball? Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below, because I want to know how you feel about this, because I get to just like unleash this in sort of like event session. I want to give that opportunity to everybody watching this video, and then I want to comment and talk to everybody about their feelings on this. And does this worry you for the next All-Stars season, All-Stars Season 3? Just let me know anything and everything you feel about this down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. And thank you again for watching. I'll be back with more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.